I never know where that applause is coming from, but I always appreciate it. Hello, all my musical minions. It is I, your host, CJP. Welcome to episode 15 of the Forgotten OneCast. It's actually been going pretty good for everything that's going on in the world today. And I wanted to definitely thank Mr. Cav for joining us here in a little bit. We're going to be talking about that bass, all about that bass. No guitar, just all about that bass. But first, of course, we have to, we got to pay our sponsors and, get the show sponsored and get the money and all that. So here's a word from our sponsor.
Nuts.
Al Pilkington.
All
right. Are you team coffee or are you team green tea? Try coffeebrandcoffee.com and enjoy 10% off your order with promo code CJP. Coffee Brand Coffee. Great coffee. No gimmicks. I love doing that. I know it's crazy and it's stupid, but it's memorable. So you're going to remember Coffee Brand Coffee because you're going to get that stupid thing of the two girls going back and forth inside your head and hopefully not thinking about the cup that goes with it. But be that as it may, I do want to bring in our guest, Mr. Shawn Cav. Mr. Cav, how are you doing today?
Doing great now. I mean, like the ad was fantastic. If I wasn't a coffee drinker beforehand, I am now.
The first time I played that, the chat was like, "Am I on drugs?"
I was like, "What's going on?"
Be, but speaking of the chat, we do have a couple people that have popped in. Hail Metastep, how are you doing, sir?
Hello,
Paul Hadouken, slapping the bass, man.
Welcome.
Another great musician. He does some great stuff on his channel. He's got a band that he did his live stream stuff, and he does music for Beamers and stuff like that. So, Yeah,
I think I've caught some of his gaming live stream before.
Yeah,
so that's cool.
Master Tulsa, time to slap the bass and pop the G string. He's also a bass player that I play with quite often. So we've known each other for, good Lord, almost 20 years now. It seems like. Wow. It's getting. I'm starting to feel my age.
Aren't we all?
Mr. Carrico, I am myself a bass owner. I didn't know he had a bass finally. Because I know he's a fantastic guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
He would play circles around my dumb ass. So we got Scrambles the Death Dealer.
Welcome.
Mexican Fender jazz bass and a 5-string Ibanez. Nice.
Okay.
Nice. And of course, I actually did bring my axe today. So as heavy as unwieldy as this mother is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's all good to build the muscles, and to destroy the back.
Yeah. Well, I was in marching band for years, so I'm used to that.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I see. I was playing chambered bodies for a while, just because it was like I was gigging maybe like 5 days a week, and doing like 3-hour sets like each night. And at the time, I was playing this really, really heavy Mexi Fender, and like the thing just kind of like was weighing me down. I was getting all kinds of kinks and knots. I went to a masseuse, and like she tried to like I don't know, just move one of the muscles around, and like it literally was like a pain that just shot right down my back. And she says, "Oh yeah, you're all kinds of fucked up." And then like and then eventually I went to like chambered bodies, and I didn't have to that much of a problem anymore. And like also better strap too helps. But
yeah, that definitely does. Well, awesome. I'm glad you could join us because I'm not a bassist. I play bass. That's how I go. Like, I'm not a guitarist. I play guitar. Now, I am a percussionist, really.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, it's funny because like like with anytime I do session work for different artists or different studios and whatnot, the studio like engineers, like they all have basses. Like all of them are like they quote unquote bass players. So like they go and like they lay down like a bass track because they're never looking for anything that interesting or like something that's really going to like put the bass into like a spotlighted kind of a spot or something like that. Nothing flashy. It's always just kind of like just ride those eighth notes and then just pedal, pedal. But like, or it's like just throwing whole notes and then just riding the roots, like that's typically all like they'll ever do. And then when they do get the budget from an artist and they said, listen, we have this guy, he can come in here and he can really kind of like make this record shine if you hire him to come in and do this. And if they sign off on it, I go in there, the engineers every time they're like, okay, yeah, this is what it's like having an actual bass player in the studio. They always kind of realize like, oh wow, yeah, no, I couldn't have done that. So like, and it seems so simple, but like at the same time, there is an art form behind it. And I feel like bass is one of those things where there's so much nuance in like how you play it that like it really changes the whole record and whatnot, or the track itself. What's up, Pro Dad? Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for connecting us, Mr. Savage Dad.
Yeah,
we had him on the Legion stream this last week, and it was a lot of fun to have him on. Unfortunately, the other guest wasn't able to make it because he had some other things. But you know what, Mr. Tulsa, Chris Squire would disagree. He played with a pick.
Oh, well, you know what? You know what I will say? I will say that like I used to be like a purist in the sense where like just using your fingers because like there's so much more control in the tone, but there's a whole element of tone that's missing if like you want that aggressive attack that you can only get from a pick.
Yeah.
So like it's a tool. Utilize it. Don't shame the fact that it's there. Now, if that's the only thing you can do, maybe you need to work on your chops, get in the shed, work with your fingers. But like if you don't have the finger skills down, like then don't worry about the pick until you get that at least.
Right.
But like again, it's a tool. Utilize it. Use it for when it's necessary.
Awesome. Well, I kind of want to delve into your background, kind of see where your journey as a musician started. Because everyone's story is different. I've had people that I started playing piano when I was 4. Or, I didn't start playing until I was 25, so it's always interesting to see where that musical journey starts with people because it's always a different story and I love hearing them.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, I mean, like, I won't try to take up too much time with that, but, I don't know, like I was young and I really loved listening to like the radio, like, just like classic rock. Like it would be like in my dad's car and stuff like that, or his truck. And I would be listening to the tunes and I was like really into just like the guitar. Like I thought the guitar was like the coolest thing ever. And that's what I really wanted to play. I begged my parents, like, can I please play guitar? In fact, like I found like one of my mom's like old it was a tool also uses a pick in the bass. Yeah, of course, like Justin Chancellor is like one of my like heroes. Like he's a fantastic bass player. But I found one of my mom's old like acoustic guitars that like when she tried learning how to play in like her closet, and then like I picked that up and I tried, like she had like a beginner's book in there and I was figuring out how to make chords like on my own with that. And then like at that point, my parents were like, all right, well, I guess we'll get them like some lessons or something like that. But they didn't get me guitar lessons like you would think. And it was like, oh, you're going to learn how to play piano. I'm like, but why? Like, I have a guitar right here. And they're like, well, no, this is going to be better for you. So like we had a piano at my grandparents' house. And then, so like, I would sit there and I would, I would be there after school every day. So like I would practice and like learn the piano. Did that skill stick with me at all? No, because they said, do this for a couple of years and then we'll talk about a guitar. So I did it. It was kind of like, I'll do this that way I can get to where I want to be, but like really it was the right stepping stone to learning music theory, having a more on a visual and also like kinesthetic like ability to understand like how theory works between the notes. So being able to see it, touch it, feel it, hear it on the keyboard, and then moving over to like a linear system, which is like the strings of the guitar, it's all very like it translated very easily for me to be able to do that. So then I go and I play guitar. I take lessons for that for a couple of years. Like they surprised me with the guitar too, when like I was like just like at my wit's end with piano. I was like, I'm not doing this shit anymore. Yeah, sorry, I don't know if we can curse on here now, but yeah, I'll try not to. But like, anyway, like they surprised me with the guitar, and I go and I end up taking lessons for a few years, had a fantastic guitar teacher. And then like basically I was like, like the good player in the garage band scene for a minute in the high school. But like, I don't know, then like my focus switched over to like girls and all kinds of other shit. So I stopped like really caring about guitar until like I was maybe like I don't know, 17-ish or something like that. So I was like maybe like a junior in high school. I was like, I'm gonna get back into this thing. I'm gonna like start like really try to like get better at this. And then a few friends of mine needed a guitar player in their band and they were doing metal and I had never played metal before. I was doing like blues rock in the garages and stuff like that. And then these guys like they were doing like like fire hall like shows and like like just like like it was like you typical like your scene music. So like I was playing in that metal band for a minute and like I learned so much because like that was one of the biggest realizations I had taken in was that like you can learn so much from somebody and then like you have to kind of move on. You have to go find a new teacher. You have to go and find something new that you've never done before because that's going to bring you to a new plateau every time. So then I was like playing metal for a few years and that was great because I got to do like some touring. I got to like we were like western New Jersey, so we were all through Pennsylvania, New York, out in Ohio, just kind of like traveling around playing. And I played in a bunch of different metal bands for a while doing that. And I don't know, for a while then I was kind of like I don't know, like just kind of floating around, like just like kind of noodling on guitar. But I was getting more and more fascinated into like prog and more progressive types of music, including like, and then eventually it was just jazz. So then it was like the typical progression. You start off like doing one thing and it's like, well, make it a little bit harder, and then you realize, oh shit, they played the hard stuff back in like the 30s and the 40s, like so like I'm like I was relearning all those tunes. And I had some great guitar teachers doing that as well. So I did that for a long time and it didn't really ever occur to me to play bass until I was jamming with a couple of guys. We were going to go and play a few like bar gigs and they're like the one guy said to me that like I don't know if this was like a backhanded compliment or what, but it was like all of my guitar solos sounded like bass solos. I was like, I don't know how to take that.
Okay. That could go either way. It definitely could go either way.
So then there was that, and then the other guy said like like you sound really good at playing bass. Maybe you should like try to be a bass player instead. And again I was kind of like, well, I play guitar though. Why would I switch over to bass? But then like I started kind of falling in love with the idea of it, and I started. Now this is probably like my I don't know, like mid 20s or so, like when I decided I was going to like switch from being the guitar, like in my mind, the guitar player to like the bass player, like, and that was like a whole transition in my head because I never really gave bass players like a whole lot of credit for what they were doing. But then like it turns out like, oh, this is so much better for me. And like I was able to do so much more with the music and I found like the nuance in the instrument. I really grew a deep appreciation for it to where I'm like, oh, fuck the guitar players. Like they're just like wiggling strings and just like twiddling away. But to me, like it was the bass player that was really carrying the tune. It's always been, but like, it's the unsung hero. So nobody goes around saying, I can't wait to meet the bass player. They want to meet the guitarist. They want to meet the singer, but
hey, try being the drummer sometime.
You're right there with me. It's the rhythm section. They turn the lights out on us. But yeah, so yeah, guitar solos are guitar solos in some styles are more like scale work and melody and rhythm. Yeah, no, you're right. It's the bass stuff that I would typically play, and like you can check out some of my stuff that I've done before. It's like on Spotify and like Apple Music, all that stuff. It's out there. It's like the Shawn Cav ensemble. It was like jazz fusion stuff that I had put out, a couple of records, and it was just kind of like that was, let's see here, like I think my first real gig as like a professional like bass player was just like with like 60s, 70s, like cover band, like just doing like bars and events and stuff like that, typical stuff. But then like I kept on pushing to kind of like, get better, do better things and whatnot. And I had the time and the opportunity to go and, start my own group at one point. So then that became like the Shawn Cav ensemble. And like I started just kind of, writing these tunes, and they were just more like kind of, in this realm of like instrumental prog rock, but like it followed like a jazz format type deal. So like it was kind of like play the head solos, like there would be like a form to the whole thing. So that was kind of like my formula behind the whole behind that. And then like, I wrote some more complex tunes. I wrote some like simple stuff as well. I don't know. It was fun. It was a good time doing that. But like, that was like a passion project for me. I really got into passion projects don't pay the bills, unfortunately.
Not unfortunate, but they are fun. And like my journey to bass was more just out of necessity than anything else, because I was in college, and not only that there was a church group that needed musicians, but our pet band for the basketball team needed musicians, but they already had drummers and guitarists and everything, and there was no bass players. Like, well, crap. I guess I'm learning bass.
Yeah, sometimes that's how it happens.
Bought a white T40, and for $150 went and found a cheap bass amp. And what really helped though for me was not only having gotten the start on guitar, but being a drummer as well. I think helped me a lot, making the transition easier, because I already understood the rhythm part of things.
Right.
Being a drummer and understanding, the rhythm section part of it. So that, I think that helped me a little bit more, than some people just, doing the straight transition from, either guitar to bass or drums to bass.
No, absolutely. Like having a good rhythmic background helps a ton, because I mean, like it's the glue between like the drums and the guitar, essentially, because like, if the bass drops out in a band, like everybody notices it, like everybody feels it, or that the bass plays like a wrong note, like that's something where it's like everyone feels it. They maybe don't know exactly what's going on, like what is that, something doesn't sound right, but like they just know something doesn't feel right, because you feel the bass more than anything in a lot of situations, a lot of venues. It's like it's hard to get that note across. Like sometimes like it doesn't come across like the actual like note you're trying to play, that frequency. Instead you just kind of like feel it on the inside. It's just like that rumble. But yeah, no, I saw like, I don't know, I after trying to do like the whole passion project for a while, like, I was, hired by a ton of different cover bands to go and play around. It led to me making a lot of good connections with studios and different artists that were doing bigger and better things and whatnot. One of the artists I'm still playing with right now is Lisa Bodner and Whistlegrass, where she was doing kind of like Americana-esque music with like some like indie rock stuff, but now it's more all indie rock and like a little bit like jam bandy kind of influences in there. So like, yeah, like I wouldn't say like Grateful Dead or nothing like that, but like it's definitely like there's some like kind of like maybe a little shoegazy, a lot of like ethereal type, like textured stuff going on in these jams that kind of occur in the middle of tunes or in the beginnings and stuff like that before kind of leading into stuff. So it's actually a lot of fun, and you get to experiment with that, which is a lot of fun, because then there's a structured tune in there, which is like kind of very like, like a pop based tune. And then so like it's all like real relatable and easy to digest. And then there's going to be like something that kind of is like different at each show, which is also a lot of fun for me, at least, because I also did other things where like I the one story I typically always share when I do these whole like how I kind of like became or got to where I was as a musician, was this one really obscure gig that I took, and it led to a lot of really cool doors getting open for me. And it was this one gig I got a call for. It was a this young girl. She was maybe like 11 years old, and she was auditioning for well, she was already a Disney actress. She was already like doing commercials and like small roles on like TV shows for Disney as it was already. But like they wanted to see how she would be as a singer for like a pop band. So like Disney, like one of those Disney produced type things, but they needed to put together footage of her with a band and everything first off. So this one studio was trying to do the whole thing. They had gotten my information from another person I had played with previously. Then one thing led to another where I was like, okay, I'm going to go and do this. And they gave me a week to learn like 20 something songs that like have them like memorized and like ready for camera essentially, because like we're going to do a live performance like somewhere and it was going to be filmed the whole bit. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I go and I learn the tunes, and like I'm helping the other people in the band learn the material as well, because like they didn't do their homework enough. Like for me, I'm very neurotic about like having to try and like make sure I get all this stuff like perfect, and like, oh no, you're doing it wrong. It should be this. And like, so like I learned the other people's roles as well. But like, so I do that gig, and like the studio, like the manager, she was like thoroughly impressed with what I could do and saw me as like kind of like, all right, let's bring him in for this other bigger project that we have going on, because that was kind of like a one-off deal. Like, all right, she's not going to use us for the band if she gets the gig with Disney. It was going to be like whatever Disney assigned. But there was this other girl who was already signed to like, I think it was like Broadway Records at the time, and her name was Kirsty Long, and like they were putting together a band for her in the beginning. She was like, I don't know, like 11 or 12, like another kind of like weird, like, am I going to really like back up like a young pop singer like this? But like it was like one of those weird things, but the money was great, and the
hold here, and I'm not liking it.
yeah, well, it was one of those things where like the songs were just like typical pop tunes. Like there's nothing to it. It's like 4-chord type stuff. The money was great. The music was like, I could bear to get through it, because like I was paying the bills at home then, and then that led to doing some like national touring, like going around, like, flying around the country, like playing with her and everything. And then also it led to me getting to meet and play with and record with members of like the Billy Joel band as well, where like we were we're using one of their studios like to record like tunes for her and stuff like that, and they would bring in other session people, but I was the player that they brought in to work with them as well. So it was always a really cool kind of experience to kind of like, oh, they get new connections, and like I'm sure you've been aware of this before, and I'm sorry I'm dominating the conversation.
No, that's why I bring guests on, because I want to learn more about other musicians, get them exposed to my tiny little audience, and hopefully everyone can grow from it. So no, I like having these conversations and hearing more about other musicians' journeys, because my audience already knows where I came from.
Sure.
That fat fuck, we don't want to hear him.
Well, like what I was getting at was like being able to play your instrument really well is maybe like 20% of the role of a musician. Like, yeah, that's, you have to be able to play your instrument well, but like the other 80% is the hang. And like, because like you got to be able to be around that person, like 22 hours of a day and not get annoyed, and like it's got to gel right. They have to be good at what they do. So like that's a huge part of it, just the hang. If you can like hang and get along well with everybody, people remember you, they want to get along with you well. So like it's I don't know, it's better. You get more opportunities that way, just being like a decent person and also being professional.
Yeah.
Like there's plenty of asshole musicians out there that are fantastic at what they do, but they're douchebags, so they don't get the gig.
Yeah. I definitely prefer working with people that I know and like, because I've had different musicians in bands that I'm like, why am I playing with this person? We don't fit. We don't have any kind of close style personality, It's one of those things, but Master Tulsa had a question.
Okay.
What's your main rig like? Also amp or DI or combo?
Oh, so I'm glad you asked. Like this is one of the things, like I used to do some like YouTube. Yeah, actually, what? It's funny about that. I got the box right here. I keep all my cables and little attachments in here.
I'm sorry, you can't call yourself any sort of real bass player and not have a Sans amp.
It's so true. So true. Like the Sans Amp is a secret weapon of mine for sure. I used to just do like an active bass with right into like the amp, or I'd use certain effects and stuff like that. It all really depended on the gig itself, on what type of a rig I used. I currently run two different types of rigs depending on the sound that I'm going for. Oh, look at all that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I forgot that there's like different things that happen when you put your hands in different positions. It's weird, dude. Like if you do the thumbs up, it should be like boop, there it goes. Yeah. Yeah, we discovered that on the Whisky Capitalist, and we're like, what is going on? Yeah.
As long as you don't pull a Jeffrey Tubin, I'd hate to figure out what happens when that does.
No, but so there's two different rigs that I run on a regular basis, depending on what kind of sound I'm going for, and also how much space I have available to me. If I'm playing like an outdoor venue and there's, let's say, we're using like a 15-person van to be able to like lug a ton of equipment, and we're bringing like full-on rigs. I have an Ampeg V4B that I use with two 2x10 cabinets. So it's like basically like a half stack, like Ampeg rig, like fully tubed. And it's like a fantastic rig. Besides that, I have a small pedal board that I use. I've consolidated. I used to use a lot of different effects depending on like, you know, the songs I was playing. I was in a Radiohead tribute band at one point where I literally had a pedal board that was like massive for just to be able to hit all the different sounds that Colin Greenwood was able to do. So like that was a wild gig, but like for my regular I have not changed my pedal board in maybe, I don't know, 3 years now. It's the same, like 4 or 5 things it's always been. Like it's a tuner, then it's the Big Muff or is it the mini Big Muff Fuzz, like, so there's that one. Then there's it's a Boss bass flanger, and then it's the Boss RV6, which is like a reverb delay combo. Which that one's like, it's such a killer sound because it almost has like a tape delay kind of decay to the sound of the repeats, which I love. That I love that little bit of distortion that comes out of it. And then finally the Sans Amp V2, because I like having control over the mid. I used to run a 3-channel, and I still will for certain gigs, a 3-channel bass Sans Amp one that's got like the 3 different settings, but that one doesn't have the mid control. So that one's a little, it's, you can hear the sound is different. It doesn't match up the same way. I feel like the V2, they perfected that circuit. It's like that's the best one. So that's the ones I use for like my typical gigs. If I'm traveling and we have like only a very limited amount of space and the stage is small and whatnot, I will use I have a Phil Jones rig that I use. So it's 2 C4 cabinets, which are these little like 4x5 cabinet speakers. So 2 of those, and they're small. They're like literally like that big, you know, but they're super loud. And I use a Quilter was a Bass Block 800. So like that's a solid state head, but I don't use that for my DI. Like my DI is just from the pedal board. So when I'm playing with the sending something to the front of house, it's DI from the Sans Amp. So they get everything from the pedal board that goes to the front of house. For me on stage, it could be whatever, just back behind stage, as long as I can feel it. I can feel like the bass and what's going on, and I can get a decent tone on stage. I'm good. I'm content with that. If I'm trying to be loud, I want to, you know, either have like the Ampeg rig or like my small, like good to go, like travel rig. So those are the 2 ones I typically use. As for like basses, my main go-to is a Fender American Precision, which is a American Pro 2. I think that's what it is. Like it's one of the new ones. I think it's like a 2020 or something like that. But that thing is, it's a perfect instrument to me. Like it's perfectly balanced. The neck is like, I think a B-shaped neck, and it's just like it feels great. That thing is never, the neck has never moved on me. It's just such a solid instrument. And the American Pro 2 has like the updated pickup wiring in there, and that pickup is just so versatile for just a single humbucker, and like it's one of the greatest combinations. So like you have your Ampeg rig, you got your Sans amp, and you got your precision bass. You're good to go. You can get just about any sound you want out of that. And like I play anything from like a kind of like aggressive music in a cover band. Like there's like I'll do like party rock type stuff, and you want that kind of like aggressive bass tone. So like I'll go from that sound using the exact same rig. I'll go and I'll do a Elvis tribute show, and I'll get like a really great like Jerry Sheff kind of like a bass tone out of that thing as well. So like it's such a versatile system, and like how you play the instrument of course makes a difference too. Like if I'm doing the party rock stuff, I'm using a pick maybe like 80% of the time because of the type of tone that I'm going for. When I'm doing the Jerry
to match the bass drum.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about just getting that attack just right, and about the energy you're trying to create. So then when it comes to the doing like the Elvis tribute stuff that I love those gigs. They're absolutely a blast because like they sell out theaters and people are just like up in the aisles dancing the whole time, and like the Elvises are always like these like big national guys, so like it's always like a great time. But with that, it's like it's just a little change of the tone and like playing with your fingers, and like maybe like depending on like the era of Elvis, either you're playing over top of the pickup for a more aggressive kind of funkier tone, or you're playing like further up on the neck and you're getting more of that upright kind of a timbre, so a little bit more clanky, a little bit more big rounded bass tone. So again, how you're playing the instrument and where you're plucking really makes a difference.
Yeah. And I do like to ask this for musicians who have gigged. Everyone has their favorite gig that they've ever played, but I always want to hear the stories of the worst gigs, because we had one. Master Tulsa and I, we do an 80s cover band, and we played at this place called the Max's Retro Pub, and they had arcade games and everything. They were trying to go for an 80s vibe, so they hired us. And it had been kind of a dreary, misty day. They had a flatbed trailer that really didn't have enough power, and we didn't run amps at all on stage. So we were basically running everything direct. We didn't pull really much for power and kept popping their generator. They had their front of house was in a bread truck on the side of the stage. And they didn't even know, because we were using backing tracks, because obviously we're not going to have 15 keyboardists on stage. So we had backing tracks and a click track to actually keep us on time. And he didn't even know how to separate the channels. My bass player Tulsa had to literally walk into the bed truck, look at the board, push the button, and walk out.
Wow.
They never took the tarps off the speakers at any point. So it was a gig from hell. And then we didn't even get paid all the way for it. Wow. So just to add the insult to injury, the only good thing about that whole gig was, for some reason, there was this very beautiful young woman who was, I'm guessing, half of a wine cellar drunk.
Nice.
Who decided that she wanted to help us unload at the end of the gig. So she's up on the trailer, and then she's trying to get down from the trailer, and before anyone can run and help her, she literally just slides off face first into the gravel.
Oh my God.
And then just gets up and walks off. Because she was so drunk, she couldn't tell.
Hopefully not carrying any of your gear. Just kind of I'm leaving.
We made sure she didn't touch anything, but that was the only fun part of the night. It was a horrible, nightmarish gig.
I'll tell you what, there's so many stories. Yeah, there's so many experiences when it comes to just like drunks and whatnot. I mean, like being in any kind of a bar band situation, there's always one person who comes up to the stage and they're always like, hey, like they act like they're your friend, like you've known them forever. They just like, oh yeah, can you guys play this song, or do you guys know anything like this or whatever? It's obnoxious, and it's like, please just leave us alone. Let us do our thing. Like, please. Like, but I do have a nightmarish gig. But like, it's one of those things where everything that could have went wrong, like went wrong type deal. It was we were traveling to like this one theater, like out in the middle of somewhere. It was like out in the middle of Pennsylvania somewhere. And we get out to the venue, and the first thing one of the staff people says to us is like, "Oh, this place is like super haunted." And like, oh, like, okay, like I to me honestly, I don't care, like whatever. Most theaters, they always have like their ghost stories and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like this guy was like adamant about it. It's like I was, almost to the point where it's like, don't go in this room, or like don't do this, like and like it was like warning type stuff. And like there was he said to us, it's like, oh yeah, well, we have to make sure we leave a very particular seat open or everything's going to go wrong tonight. And it's like what, really, are you serious? Like, oh yeah, no, like I shit you not, there's a ghost that like if you sit in his seat, like the electrical will go all haywire, the lights will screw up. And like I was like, this is just, this guy's on something or whatever. Like there's no way that this is real. And it's not that I was like looking to try and sit in the seat or nothing like that, but I was curious though nonetheless. I'm like, but like the guy took off before like we could find out, well, which seat was it? We don't know. Like, and like, is anyone gonna like prevent like a guest from like going and like purchasing a ticket for that seat? Do they make sure they leave that one reserved? I didn't see any like seats like roped off or nothing like that. I was like, this is gonna be a fucking trip. And like I don't really buy into any of that like supernatural stuff like that much. Like a little bit maybe, but like not to the point where it's like, oh, beware or anything like that. And they're telling me about ghosts all over in the different sections of the thing. Well, either way, we load in, and like the place smelled like mold, like you wouldn't believe. Like it reeked of like this like stank, like mold and like mildew, like gross. I'm like, oh god, like it's gonna give me a headache just being in this building. And we load in, we do our sound check, and like the sound check takes forever because they can't get certain like things to come through the monitors correctly. And then, you know, some people are being prima donnas about certain sounds. I just don't care. I want to get the hell out of this place. It stinks. It's giving me a fucking headache. And then we finally get a sound where we're content with the whole thing. We go into like the green room, and we're hanging out down there, and like, okay, let's go. It's time to go and start the show or whatever like that. Well, we can't find the drummer. The drummer like has disappeared. And like, and this guy was pissing me off already because like he was already like not good at like his role in the group. And I just kind of like bit my lip the whole time because I just got to get through this. Just got to get through this gig. This is it. Like, you know, and we go and we start kind of like warming up the stage a little bit. It would just a little bit of playing, just kind of like let everybody know, like, yeah, the show is starting. But like we had like the manager looking for the drummer who like apparently just got lost like in the basement somewhere. And then he
Spinal Tap.
Yeah, literally, it was like a scene out of Spinal Tap. Like it was like, oh, we made a wrong turn. It's like, you dumbass. Well, then like finally makes his way up onto the stage, and then like for some reason, like I blame the drummer more than anything, but like the every single level was wrong for like, well, that's like the sound engineer thing or whatever, but like every sound was off. Like everybody's like, you know, levels were completely a mess. Now, mind you, no one has been on the stage or nothing like that. It's just been like a bare stage since like we left for sound check, and like everything was screwed up. All the levels were all messed up. Like people were starting songs in the wrong keys, and then the drummer's going off and he's doing like drum patterns that don't even fit the songs. And I'm like, what the hell happened to all of you? And like and like I shit you not, like there was like a decent amount of people that came out for that show, and I felt bad for every one of them. I was like, oh my goodness, this is a terrible gig. This one's going so bad. And then like I didn't believe in like the whole ghost thing, but I'm like, there might be something to this whole thing where like literally it fucked with their heads. It fucked with like the electronics. It got the whole thing all screwed up. And then the next day, like nobody talked about it. We were all pissed off at each other. Like, you know, after that gig, after going so terrible, the next day we're like, 4 or 5 hours away in another part in Pennsylvania, and we get together, we do the sound check goes like a breeze. It was no problem. The sound was perfect. Everybody knew the material, so weirdly enough, and it was like a perfect gig to no one. And and I was like, it had to have been the ghosts. It had to have been the ghost that like destroyed that like decent gig that we had. And
or it was the guy was wanting to sabotage you and created a self-fulfilling prophecy.
That could have been too. There's been so many of these like bad gig situations, man. Like there, I don't know. I'm just trying to even think back to some like the earlier ones that I've done in the past, like different like metal bands, gigs I've done and whatever. But like I think one of the weirdest ones I remember was like I was probably like 17 years old or something like that, traveling around with the bands, and like probably shouldn't have been, but I was. And like we went to go play at one venue, and like the lady who was running the show, like just like paid us in like meatballs, almost kind of like the wedding singer. like here you go, like have some spaghetti, here's some. And it's like, okay, but we're gonna get paid for this, right? And it's like, oh yeah, and then we never got paid.
Well, I did play one gig, and it wasn't that anything went wrong per se. I just happened to apparently catch the flu that morning. So I don't remember. I pretty much in my memory have blacked out this gig, other than setup, the first song, and teardown. I literally remember nothing between the first song and when we stopped.
Wow.
Apparently I was fine, but I don't remember it.
Wow. So you completely blacked out.
Yeah, well, because I was breaking a fever during this gig, but I it was so bad. I didn't even know. I didn't even feel bad until we started getting towards the gig, and I'm like, I'm not feeling too good.
Yeah, I'll tell you, one of the weird things I discovered was like doing a lot of these like bar gigs and whatnot. Like, I remember I got like I was coming down with something. Like I definitely had like something wrong with my throat. I had like a cold or something going on, and I thought my voice sounded great like that. I was like, maybe I need to get this like Tom Waits kind of a vibe going like more often, because like it seemed to work out for me, because like I hate my voice any other time doing backups and all that. So yeah, that was something I'm like, oh, okay, like maybe I should try and have something like get like a little scratchy throat more often.
Well, I know, it wasn't me at playing the gig, but I ran sound for a gig once, and their bass player, we worked with him at Guitar Center, and I mean, he was a decent guy, not a bad bass player, but he couldn't really hold his liquor very well. So by the third set, he was basically Captain Morgan on the monitor, like kind of just gently thrusting at the crowd, singing way off key and missing pretty much 90% of the notes he was supposed to play.
Oh man.
I didn't really care because I was just getting paid to run sound, and I couldn't make him sound any better or worse than he was already sounding.
I thinking back to like when I was playing with like an early cover band, like playing bass again. There was a time where there was a girl, like she was totally like this, like I don't know, it looked like she just like walked right off the street, like just like grimy looking, probably an escort of some sort, like but like she kept on like looking at me, pointing at me, and she's like just kind of like playing like the air bass, and then like she would just go like this long stroking motion like at me while making eye contact at me. I'm like,
this is kind of uncomfortable here.
It's like I feel like I'm being like raped from across the room, like and then like this is like early on when I'm like I was dating my wife at the time, so like she's my wife now, but like we were just dating, and she was there, and like we all kind of thought it was funny. We're like, she's like on something or whatever like that, whatever, just like ignore like the crazy lady who's like motioning like this like 3 foot long dong, like just like yeah. And then like was it so the gig's over, and like she's still kind of like staring me down. Now she's there with a dude, like she's there with a guy. This guy's like, I don't know, mid-20s, decent looking guy, whatever that, but like why is like this even happening? They thought it was the weirdest thing. And then like she wouldn't stop, like leave, like she wouldn't just leave it alone. Like she had to keep on like walking by me or something like that. And then of course, like my girlfriend, like my wife now at the time, like she had been like drinking like the whole evening, so like she wasn't gonna have it. Like she was ready to throw down to kind of make that stop. And then like I'm like, oh Jesus Christ. So I had to separate the whole thing out, and then she was embarrassed, like, because like of how like that escalated. But and then like that girl was waiting for her outside. I was like, you don't want to fight this girl. Like you don't, you're gonna get hepatitis or some shit if she scratches you. Like don't let her break your skin. So I took her out through like the back of like the restaurant. Like, we're gonna go out that way. I just don't want to see her get like injured by this girl, and I don't want to hit the girl either. But like, you know, it was like a whole thing. But like, it was just one of those. We laugh about it now, of course, but like it was just but like that shit's just funny. Like oh yeah, that like grimy horror that was in the back there that was like motioning to.
There always seems to be one at every bar gig. There's always one. It's never the same girl either. It's always a different one.
Yeah, and why can't they ever be attractive?
I know. Of course, you know, we always had the joke, you know, you always get the jackass in the back going, Freebird!
Yeah, there's always going to be one.
And my bass player, Tulsa, he's always like, wait, you want more reverb? Okay.
You know what we started doing, and it has nothing to do with Freebird, but it has to do with like one more song. Don't stop playing. Play one more song. So it's like to and like at this point, like if you've done like a 3-hour gig at the bar, you're like, I'm exhausted. I want to pack up. I want to go home. I am not staying longer because you want the night to keep going. I'm not here, like, unless you're paying me money to like keep playing. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do it. So what I've done with like the bands that I do the bar scene with now, you know, like I tell them, it's like, okay, we stop at like, you know, 5 of wherever like the marker is, like for us to like stop like 5 minutes too. And they're like, okay, that's it, everybody have a good night. And then we wait for them to go like, one more song. And they're like, well, okay, you guys win. And then like we play like one more tune that we knew we were going to end up doing if like they said that. So that way, okay, I don't feel like we shorted them. They don't feel like we shorted them. And, you know, we're getting out on time still nonetheless, because none of them are looking at watches. They don't know or care what time we are officially done or nothing like that. No one's gonna be like, no, it says right here, you got 5 more minutes, buddy. You got to keep playing. Like no one's going to do that.
Well, in our band, for the cover band, we actually kind of thematically signal the end of the night, because the last 3 songs that we play are Should I Stay or Should I Go, Goodbye to You, and then Don't You Forget About Me. That's what we end with.
Oh,
so we try to
good,
thematically program it into their drunken minds. We're leaving.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's solid. We have like our typical go-tos at the end of the night as well. Like I'm trying to think like what the grouping is now, but we usually do like this like Elvis. We start off with this like Elvis tune. It was like You've Lost That Love and Feeling, but it's like the Elvis version of it, where it's a little bit like darker, a little bit more like more rock kind of a vibe to it. We start off with that. I think it leads into like Everlong, and then like we do like In the Air Tonight, Phil Collins and stuff like that. So it's kind of like this whole like D medley type deal of like just tunes, and it's a great time, you know. And people seem to get behind it, and like they always like at the end of the night, that's like the one they like when it comes to the Phil Collins tune, like everybody wants like they all like air drum to that, and they get off on it. So it's a great time. It's fun to kind of give them those tunes as well. And one of the ones we keep as like an Easter egg if they ask for it is like War Pigs, you know, like because that's one that we've been doing that one for years and years and years. So like, you know, do that one just like whenever they call it type deal. And there's usually a couple places that we'll play at where the bouncers, they always like ask for it. Like, you guys gonna play War Pigs tonight? Like, well, yeah, just remind us.
Yeah. Well, and also, you know, we're kind of getting towards the end here, but I always like to, you know, ask, you know, kind of, you know, not really like favorite bass player, but kind of like ones that have influenced you that, you know, people might actually know. You know, I tend to go to the holy 3 of Johns, John McVie, John Deacon, John Entwistle.
Okay. Yeah,
Which
like
is
End
like,
Whistle's
why all the bass
fantastic.
players in '70s named John.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but like so early on, I was like more influenced by like, of course, like Victor Wooten, and then it was like Jaco Pastorius, of course. Like that was like early on, like influences that kind of like pushed me to kind of like grow as a bass player. But then when I really started to come into my own, like I was really into like Les Claypool. Like I still am into Les Claypool and like his like unique, like kind of whimsical style of playing. It's very like interesting, and like I love his tone. I love the tone that he tries to create with that. But like I think I emulate, or I try to like emulate that like Justin Chancellor kind of a tone the most, because like it's just like I don't know, that Tool bass sound and that tone is just like a near perfect bass signal to me. It's like that just sounds freaking amazing. So I love that sound. I try to be innovative like Chancellor if I can. But you know, there's you know, like Pino Palladino is like one of like the best bass players like alive. And you know, his style is very much kind of like R&B, like kind of I don't know, it's kind of like pentatonic-ish, but like he's got such a great groove to everything he does. So that's somebody that I always try to emulate when like those types of gigs come around. So depending on the gig, I try to emulate whoever I feel kind of fits that pocket, you know, and that's always been like my approach to playing. Like, yeah, there's me, like there's like I can add my own kind of like spin and my own take on like how I think it should sound, but like there's like these templates that I kind of go off of that give me a good starting point. I feel like for like the type of gigs I might be doing. I remember doing this really cool casino gig up in like upstate New York for a country rock band, and they were fantastic. And it was like a big sold out like show. And I my bass signal that night was I don't think I've ever had like a louder or better bass tone. Like it was one of the loudest gigs I ever played. It was called like the place is called the Tin Rooster,
Mm.
and it was literally like metal behind us, so like everything just reverberated, and the drummer was super loud that night, just like everything was just like boom, crack, crack, like, beating the hell out of the drums. And I woke up the next day. I didn't drink. I had a hangover.
Oh, jeez.
It was a sound hangover. I was like, oh my god, my fucking head.
Oh, God. I hate those kind of gigs when you wake up, you know, even if, you know, because I don't drink on stage, because that's
Right.
just, I feel like as a professional that I want to give, you know, the venue 100% of my attention.
Mhm.
I'm not a drinker by trade, but
Mhm.
I never drink on stage for that reason. But yeah, I've had those gigs where it's been so loud that you wake up the next morning feeling like you've gone at least, you know, 6 beers deep.
Yeah. See, like for me, like, yeah, I am a drinker by trade, but like typically doing the whiskey capitalists and all that type of stuff, sipping with Shawn, you know, it's like, yeah, there's some drinks that are had for sure. But like for me, it's like, yeah, if I'm doing, it depends on the gig. If I'm doing like a bar gig that I've done like a billion times before, like I know the material. I don't even have to really think about it. It's autopilot, you know, like, it's gonna be a great show. All I gotta do is show up and do the best that I do. I always try to play the best that I can. And that's probably the best advice you can ever give like a musician as well too. It's like, doesn't matter if it's like the first time you're playing something or it's like the millionth time you've played something, play it the best you can play, because like that's what shows like, you know, you've mastered your craft. It's like if you don't give a shit, then like nobody thinks you that nobody cares, you know. But like if you can play, I don't know, some bullshit song like Last Dance with Mary Jane. Oh my god, do not ask me to play that, or like, oh, God forbid you ever say Mustang Sally or something stupid like that. But like those types of tunes, if I get stuck having to do that, I'm like, oh my god. But if I had to do it for a gig, if I got hired to play a gig and that was like on the set list, I'm gonna play it the best I can possibly play it, because you know the audience deserves that. And you know, like it should be performed the best, because otherwise it makes me look like I'm a chump.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You're like, oh, he can't even play that simple tune. Well, no, I can. I just don't care. Well, it doesn't seem like you don't care. It seems like you can't do it. So like that's why like it's that reflection of who you are. Do the best you possibly can. Now, if I'm doing a gig that I really am like super passionate about, I really want this to be like the best it can possibly ever be. I'm not gonna touch booze like at all that day because I want to make sure it's like I gotta be like on point, 100% be in the moment, the whole bit. I can't like put anything on autopilot. I gotta be like there in the moment, paying attention to everything. Play every song like it's your favorite. Perfect. That sums it up exactly what needs to happen. Big bottoms.
I need two other bass guitars because I need bass guitar, lead bass guitar, and bass guitar to play that properly.
I know, yeah, we did that once. I there was a local like fundraiser type event, and I think we did a big bottoms. We did that one, and it was just because there's 3 bass players, and we're just like going at it, but it was fun. It was just like a goofy thing to do.
Oh yeah. Well, let's say we're getting close to the end here. Where can people find you? How can they follow you? I tried to put as many links as I could in the description and whatnot so that they can follow you. Subscribe to his channels. You'll follow him on Twitter or X or whatever the F is called now. I feel like I'm gonna be like I need to do Degeneration X, like
yeah, I mean, like we joke and call it Twix on the Whisky Capitalist. So, follow me on Twix, but I'm Shawn. Wait, here it is over that way. I'm Shawn Cav. You can follow me. That's my handle for like just about everything. I'm on X, so like.
Dumb fucking name. God damn you, Elon. You're a genius, but you're also retarded. I'm sorry.
How about it? I was like, yeah, because now all those sentences just sound silly.
I know. I was like, find me on X. I'm on X. It's like,
yeah.
I'm on you.
I'm there. Solo.to/I'm Shawn Cav is where all of my links are. So that has like links to my Telegram channel, which that's something where I'm posting my gig schedule. I'm posting links to all of the live streams. Like I'm going to post the link to this one in my Telegram as well. So that way, they can go and check that out as well. So like I'll post it there. I retweeted you over on whatever, reposted you on X, and I know the verbiage is all got to change too. Something's got to happen with that. But that, and of course, on Rumble, we got the Whisky Capitalist and Sippin' with Shawn. So you just search those titles, the channels will pop up. Of course, like the big one that we're still doing, there's a lot of exclusive content that we're putting out over there because, I do a lot of political commentary, some pop culture stuff and whatnot. And that's kind of like my other go-to besides doing the music anymore now. And that's over at tdpn.locals.com. And TDPN is for Till Death Podcast Network. So it's just those initials, tdpn.locals.com. And we have all the links for all the shows, which is like we got movie reviews with Movies America. We got Till Death Podcast, which is Ian and his wife. They talk about like different married stuff and other like pop culture type of articles, and they just kind of get like their takes on things. Sippin' with Shawn, which is like me kind of like talking about what grinds my gears, or like maybe like there's something. It's me bitching a lot of times about things. And then of course the Whisky Capitalist, which is all your political news and pop culture updates and hot takes while we drink and get rumble rants. So yeah, that's our whole spiel.
Well, I wanted to thank you for coming on. I also want to, quick shout out to the chat, Metastep,
Yes.
Paul Hadouken, Master Tulsa, Jeff Carrico, Scrambles the Death Dealer, Clinton House, Professor Savage Dad. Let me make sure I didn't miss anybody. Mr. Grant Gregory popped in for a second. Happy, whatever happens in Australia down there, other than people dying from animals that are way too big. But again, thank you, all of you, my musical minions, for coming out to check us out. Like the channel, subscribe, comment after the live stream because it helps the algorithm. Because for some reason I am stuck at 417 subs. I've been stuck there for the last month. It seems like I'll get a couple, lose them, lose a couple, get them back, gain a couple. It's been the weirdest weirdest thing with YouTube recently. So
are you putting a lot of focus on Rumble, or are you just kind of?
I'm live streaming on both. So we actually are live on Rumble right now, but hasn't had anyone pop in the chat there. So if you want to check us out on Rumble, we're on Rumble as well. And I've earned a whopping 4 cents on Rumble. So,
well, I'm following you on Rumble right now, and I'll follow you on YouTube as well. So therefore, you're getting more people right now. There
we go. But again, I wanted to thank everyone for coming out to check the show. I do not have a guest set yet for next week. I'm working on that. I'm going to get Desiree right back on because she had to pop out early a couple streams ago. I'm working on getting DeBrute on. The Game Musician is going to be on in December. I'm, again, reaching out to just different people. And if there's anyone you guys want to see on the show, if you want to give us a connection and, network with us, that'd be fantastic. And I'd love that. But, it's that time. But like I always say, just keep making music.
Wonderful. Thank you again for having me. I really appreciate this.
Thank you for coming on.
To talk to you.
Good night, everyone. You have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.